Jack FM's Final Fling.
Welcome to Jack FM's Final Fling. This is it. Jack FM finishes in 2 hours' time and hands over to Greatest Hits.
But before we hand you over to something new, these are our greatest hits from the last 16 years.
I'm Matt Richardson.
And I'm Andrea Fox.
And the whole team will be here in the next 2 hours together with a few voices from the past you may remember who've now got real jobs.
On the way, our longest-serving staff member is Jo Summerbell. She's going to be sharing her 11 years of memories. Don't worry, she's going to get it done quickly, along with some bloopers from the newsroom.
Other than Jo joining Jack FM, another big thing that happened 11 years ago, two strangers and a wedding where two total strangers from Oxfordshire agreed to get married without ever having seen each other. How did it go and what happened next? We catch up with the bride, Justine.
Jack FM may be ending for most of us, but there's one person who it will stay with forever, and his name is Matt Chaplin. He's got a tattoo of our Jack FM logo on his right calf. I'm going to be chatting to him a little bit later on and finding out why.
Also, we'll revisit Selfie's interview with an amazing lady, the late great Ali Booker, whose award-winning on-air diaries about life with cancer won multiple awards.
And something that won't win any awards, Dom Joly talks to producer Steve about his 3 worst interviews.
And we'll hear farewell messages from some of Jack FM's celebrity friends and haters too, along with the best of the Jack FM playlist.
Let's start with this one from Green Day on Jack FM's Final Fling.
Playing what we want, Jack FM. Do you have the time to listen to me?
In 2011, Jack FM did a social experiment which has since become a hit TV series called Married at First Sight.
Yes, 2 total strangers in Oxfordshire agreed to get married. People applied and were whittled down to a final few through a series of interviews.
Hello?
Is that a potential bride?
Yeah.
Potential
Yes, it is.
bride? What is your name? As in, what is your pseudonym name?
It's Dancing Queen.
Yes!
That's Caroline's response, because she didn't know who we were calling
Oh, I see.
to let know
Oh my God.
that we would like to invite you to a wedding
Oh my God.
as a bride.
Are you joking? Oh my God.
Because the Jack team didn't want to risk the two strangers seeing each other at all, the contenders all adopted pseudonyms and were kept apart through the whole process.
Ooh, now the bride had to choose her groom through a process of conversations in separate studios with blacked out windows.
When she'd chosen her groom, she went on a literal blind date with him. They had dinner either side of a curtain, and all of this went out on the radio, including the ceremony, live from the Malmaison Hotel.
Robert and Justine, would you like to remove your mask?
We've just learnt his name.
Hello, how are you?
And after all this time, we are now very excited to say we are chatting with the bride herself from 2011. Justine, hello.
Well, hello there.
Thank you so much for talking to us. I have to ask, did you actually get married?
We didn't. It was a commitment ceremony. So it wasn't actually 2 strangers and a marriage. It was 2 strangers and a wedding. So we could have the wedding, but it was a commitment ceremony. So there were no kind of real commitments.
But you did get a honeymoon, is that right?
I did. We got the hen do and the stag do and, you know, all the things that went with it. We got a honeymoon in Mallorca. It was the whole shebang.
Where was the hen do?
The hen do I had at first floor on Cowley Road. I think he went off to like a golf place and had the day.
Classic.
I also had a Zumba session. The funny thing is we had the hen and the stag before the first date, before the curtain date. So that was hilarious.
So you went on a hen do without realising who you were going on a hen do for?
Yeah.
What a wild thing to do.
It was.
What inspired you to do such a mad thing?
That's the kind of person I am. Not really. No, it is a bit actually, because, you know, all those years ago, I was single. I think someone had said, oh, look, Jack's doing this competition. Why don't you enter it? I thought, yeah, why not? It's just a couple of dates with a stranger. Little did I know I was going to win. And then when I did, I just thought, I'm just going to go for it. Why not?
Yeah.
Amazing.
And we still talk about it to this day. It's one of those things, even though I'm happily married to someone else, my lovely husband last year, it's still talked about by my friends because it was amazing. It was absolutely brilliant.
What an amazing thing to have done. Are you still in touch with your ex-husband?
No, not
Okay.
at all.
Oh,
He disappeared
right, okay.
quite soon after.
Right, so
Disappeared.
I'm guessing that the honeymoon didn't quite go as planned then, without being too indiscreet. You didn't get on once you... Because forgive me if I'm getting this incorrect, but you literally were masked up until they pronounced you...
Yeah, so I walked down the aisle with a mask on. He had a mask on.
Oh,
and then we
my
took
goodness.
the masks off just before we said the commitment. And then it was all a bit like, oh, do you want to go ahead with it? And I think I got to the point where I thought, well, I'm just going to do it anyway. All family and friends had come from
my
far and
goodness.
wide.
That's so funny. Did you, so was it basically as soon as you saw him, it started to fall apart?
No, I didn't look at him and think, and I didn't think for either. It was like, okay, not bad.
Okay, fine.
But I think personality-wise, on the honeymoon, it was discovered that we weren't a match. So, we went on the honeymoon. I wanted to go off and do stuff. He wasn't that interested. I definitely wasn't his type.
But you could have still had a nice holiday together and become friends, right? That could have been the...
Yeah, we did. I mean, Steve was there, our chaperone. I think you know Steve.
Steve is, our boss here. Steve's back.
Yes,
Yep.
he has asked us if you remember hearing the expression table for three quite a lot on your honeymoon.
Yeah, but thank goodness he was there because it was quite awkward. Steve went home and then we kind of it had to be table for two. And we did have a couple of nights that were more chatty, which was great. We enjoyed it. It was in Mallorca. It was a 4-star hotel. They were amazing. They treated us so well. They're amazing to us, under the circumstances.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I made the most of it. And, like I say, still absolutely talk about it. I loved it. It was a brilliant day. Still got the dress up in the loft.
Amazing. Did you use that dress for the actual marriage when you got married?
I was going to.
Yes.
I don't think my husband would have minded, but I just thought, no, maybe not.
So can I just get this right? Have you got your wedding dress from Two Strangers in a Wedding and your actual wedding dress from when you got married to your current husband in the loft next to each other?
Well, it was going to be like that, but luckily my mum is looking after my more recent dress.
Whoa. So you actually have you have your Two Strangers wedding dress in the house, but your actual wedding dress is not in the house.
Yeah. But all my other wedding stuff is. So I've got a box of Two Strangers wedding stuff and a box of real wedding stuff in the loft.
If you ever do a house move, you'll have to make sure you don't get these mixed up and accidentally throw out the stranger in a wedding stuff. And,
my goodness.
And don't keep your actual wedding stuff.
Now
I can't get rid of it yet.
No, I have to ask your current husband.
That's what I call mine, Justine, just to keep them on their toes.
Tell us how you met him. Was it in such a weird way?
No, it wasn't. It was actually quite boring. It was at a party. It was Boxing Day. It was a mutual friends party, and it was almost 8 years ago.
Oh, amazing!
And the nice thing about that is that we'd kind of knew each other and seen each other many years before. We're both not from Oxford, but we bumped into each other, but not kind of known about each other. And then when we met through mutual friends, it was like instant chemistry. So that was it.
Absolutely amazing. And I'm so glad.
A true love story in the end,
really lovely. Would you recommend doing something like this to people?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I got slated a lot because people didn't really agree with it, but that's that's up to them to think that. I just thought if I didn't do it and didn't have that experience, 12, 13 years later, we're still talking about it. I'm still talking about it. My friends are still talking about it. I just had such a great day. And apart from my actual real second wedding, to my real husband, it was as equally as good.
Amazing. Oh, I'm so glad you look at it so fondly all these years later.
I do.
Oh, that's really great. Well, thank you so much for talking to us. You've been a big part of Jack. It's legendary. I've only been here since March, and people in the office talk about it all the time as one of the best things Jack ever did.
It was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Thanks, everybody, for making it happen.
This is Roy from Scouting for Girls, and I've just heard the news, Jack FM. Oh, you can't go. You were my favourite radio station whenever I was driving on the M4 through the Oxford area. I don't know what I'm going to do without you. Thanks for all the support. I'm all alone.
This is Jack FM's Final Fling, the very last show on Jack FM before Greatest Hits Radio launches with Andy Crane.
Friends of the station there, scouting for girls. Poor Roy, he'll get over it. Coming up next, we chat to a man who will always have Jack FM etched into his memories. Well, I mean, etched onto his leg for the rest of time.
Playing what we want. Jack FM.
Jack FM's Final Fling. You'll have to force us out, copper.
That's great. It starts with.
It's Jack FM's Final Fling, the last ever show on Jack FM, and we'll always keep a little part of Jack FM close to us.
But there is one man in Oxfordshire who's taking that even further because he's got a tattoo of our logo on his leg. You may have seen it on our socials. His name is Matt Chaplin, and I asked him why we're literally etched into his memories and his leg. Now, you have a very special connection with Jack FM through the form of some ink. Tell us about this.
So, yeah, I have the Jack FM logo tattooed on my back of my left calf.
You heard correct. Tattoo of the Jack FM logo. Now, how long ago did you get this tattoo?
I think it was about 15 years ago when there was the Save Jack campaign. It was just a moment of madness. It was my very first tattoo.
Your first tattoo?
Yeah.
I can see your arms and stuff now, so this started something for you, didn't it?
Yeah, I've got about 12 or 13 now, so...
So tell me the story of how you got this tattoo. How did the presenters at the time convince you to do this?
They didn't. It was a campaign saying Save Jack, and it was like...
We should have started that, to be fair, again.
Yeah. So it was a lot of people were getting their cars wrapped. They would put in banners up. So I think someone painted a double-decker bus with the Jack logo and all that sort of stuff. A friend of ours had just opened a tattoo studio in Headington. My wife was currently away on a hen do weekend, and I emailed my friend saying, do you want to tattoo a logo on my leg? And he said, yeah, no worries. And I emailed, it would have been Sue and Trev, saying, I'm going to get a tattoo of your logo. And they called me out on it, and I said, no, I'll get it done. And then next thing I know, it's all booked in, and Trev came down and interviewed me at the studio while I was getting it done, and broadcast it, me getting the tattoo live.
And were you screaming in agony?
No, it's all good. It doesn't really hurt. It's just a little tickle.
Just a little tickle.
Yeah.
Hence you got loads more. Just confirming for our own financial records, did we pay for your tattoo?
See, the fun story behind this, it was a completely free tattoo because obviously the studio got lots of free advertising. And at the time the campaign to Save Jack, there was a prize for £1,000 for the person who did the best thing to advertise Jack FM.
Tell me, Matt, that you won that £1,000.
I won the £1,000.
Well done, yes.
Good times.
And when you look at your left calf now, do you go, what great memories?
I often forget that it's there. It's only when people see it, because I wear shorts most of the year, people say, oh, do you work for Jack FM? And it's just like, really? Because obviously you get a tattoo of everywhere you work. So it's just like, yeah, the first question is, oh, do you work for Jack FM? It's like, yeah.
And you'll know that we are going to be changing to Greatest Hits Radio very shortly.
I am, yep.
Have you got any space on your right calf for that logo?
No. I've done enough with marketing space now.
What other tattoos do you have?
Pretty much all 80s cartoons.
That's very Jack FM. Love that. Love that for you. And I hear, if it's not too personal to ask as well, Matt, that as well as being interviewed whilst you were getting your Jack FM tattoo, you were also interviewed during another delicate, painful procedure.
It was the morning after.
Right, okay.
So after the birth of my third child, I had a vasectomy.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It was a long time ago. He's 16 now. I had a vasectomy.
Right.
And yeah, again,
you were like, three's enough.
More than enough, because kids are annoying. So yeah, again, Trev and Sue called me up and we had a little chat about my vasectomy about 7:30 in the morning during the week, which was a perfect time for it.
Were you still a little woozy after the op?
It was quite painful and a bit uncomfortable because this was, like I said, good 15 years ago, so it was done slightly different back then. So
no keyhole surgery 15 years ago.
A bit more improved and a bit more civilised now. So yeah, it was done with a surgeon's tea break or something silly like that. So it was, it wasn't as much fun as it should have been.
Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing your memories of Jack FM with us.
Thank you.
I wanna be rich and I want lots of money. I don't care about clever, I don't care about funny. I want loads of clothes and I want loads of diamonds.
Jack FM's Final Fling. Flash Jack.
Well, they said it wouldn't last, and they were right, although they were also kind of wrong as well. It lasted a lot longer than we thought it would. My name is Sue. I was on Jack's Morning Glory with Trev, Sue and Greg. If you were there at the start, you might remember us. I spent 7 years in that dumpy building on Woodstock Road. Been asked to share a couple of my memories from my time at Jack. I actually remember day number 1. First breakfast show, Trev, Greg and I had a bonus guest. That was James, our IT guy, who spent the entire show on the floor between our legs, fixing something that wasn't working, which, to be fair, ended up being a very regular occurrence on Woodstock Road. I also remember that Jack was just a lot of fun. Jack broke all the radio rules, also broke all the records. I think by the time I'd left, we'd run something like 30-something radio awards. We beat the Beeb, we beat the big guys in London. They all wondered, what is this radio station? The reality is it was just a bunch of really passionate people that did local radio differently. We didn't have anywhere near the amount of money that we needed to tackle the big ideas that we bit off, but we still did them. I remember being at Wembley when the Yellows won the Blue Square. Remember doing the entire show from the top of a Victory bus as it drove through the town for the Victory Parade. I also remember that the IT guys had to unplug and plug in 3 different SIM cards to make that work. We sent Greg, our news guy, to Iraq with Oxfordshire troops. We became the first brekkie show to broadcast a week from Afghanistan. That was truly one of the best weeks of my life. Sitting in the back of a Merlin, which is highly likely from Benson, flying from Kandahar to Camp Bastion with explosions below us, thinking, what the hell are we doing? I also remember the insanity of about 80 of you branding your cars as mobile billboards for us. I remember the beautiful and amazing Ali Booker's Cancer Diaries. But more than that, I remember the beautiful and amazing Ali Booker, a lovely lady who came into our life who we knew had terminal cancer. I remember sitting there thinking, you really want to work? We really like you. But this is a one-way street. This is going to hurt a lot at the end. And it did, but it made all of our lives so much better. I remember a bunch of our crazy mad clients who supported us when really business sense probably said they shouldn't. Talking about you, Jonathan Russell from Reese Russell, also Kate and Rob from Allen Associates. Most of all though, I just remember the people. Jack FM brought together a motley bunch of like-minded adults who just didn't take life too seriously. I think nowadays they call them people that don't like adulting. I'm actually still friends with many people I met in Oxfordshire today. That doesn't happen at other radio stations. Jack was really, really something special. So from 10,000 miles away, down here in Australia, thanks for the fun.
Hi, Rick Witter from Shed 7 here. I'd just like to wish bon voyage, adieu, a fond farewell to Jack FM. 16 years. 16 full years. How did it come to this? They've managed to somehow keep us entertained, keep things relevant, but I'm afraid the time is through, the time is up. Thanks for everything, and good luck to everyone involved with Jack FM moving forward with whatever you all choose to do with your life.
You are my guiding light, and you're shining brighter.
Thanks to Shed 7 for that very touching message just now. They're enjoying a comeback. Perhaps we'll maybe get the band back together one day.
This is Jack FM's Final Fling, and on the way next, we'll talk to Mum of the station and now Mum to Baby Penny, Jo Summerbell, who's been at Jack FM for 11 years.
Want to cut the cost of your...
Yeah, we're playing what we want. What we want. Jack FM.
The equivalent of a radio landfill, this is Jack FM's Final Fling.
This is Jack FM's Final Fling, celebrating 16 years of Jack FM on your radio before it all ends at 10 tonight, and we welcome Greatest Hits Radio to Oxfordshire. Me and Matt are the most recent additions to the team here at Jack FM.
Yeah, Jo Summerbell has just celebrated 11 years here as voice of Jack FM News. One of our favourites has popped in. It's Jo Summerbell.
Oh, thanks. I thought you was going to say Baby Penny.
Oh, yeah. Baby Penny's here as well. Look at her. She looks so at home in the studio.
So there's so much going on in here that she's not having her milk. She's just looking at all the lights, twinkly lights.
Do we need to turn the lights off?
Maybe we need to do
fine.
some dark.
Look, I think, Jo, you're probably safely our longest serving member of staff at Jack.
I know, that's nuts, isn't it? 11 years.
What were your favourite things over the 11 years? There must be loads.
So news-wise, because I go out reporting now and again, I was thinking about this earlier. When Donald Trump came to the UK, do you remember?
Yes.
And he went for dinner at Blenheim Palace with loads of VIPs and dignitaries.
Oh, my goodness. Did you go?
Well, I didn't get invited into Blenheim Palace, of course. Don't you know who I am?
Yeah.
No, but I did go down with a microphone and I interviewed everyone outside. Because it was mainly anti-Trump protesters.
I would imagine so.
But there were a couple of pro-Trump people
Were there? From Oxfordshire?
Well, I think they were coming from all over the place to
Wow.
come. Yeah. And I just interviewed a load of them. And every time a car went in, it was always blacked out windows and the crowd would just go, boo. For like 50 cars.
Oh, lovely. Oh, I really enjoy that.
So
That's
that was
great.
fun. And then there was the time that Abingdon Road flooded. I don't know if you'll remember this, but I remember getting sent down there by my old boss in my wellies to just stand in the floodwater and do live links back into the show and grab people on their way to school and
Audio
have a chat
links.
with them. Yeah.
Yeah. Really get the sense of the flooding, just some sploshing in the background.
Yeah, so that was a few years back. People might remember that because it was quite bad.
Now, obviously, we're here and we're joined by we only did a few weeks together, I guess, because of beautiful Penny, who's sat here now with you, your wonderful daughter.
Yes.
And was this always expected to have a little bit of maternity? Because I have some audio that may show that this was never always the plan.
So let's talk more baby talk with the girls of Jack. Joe, how about you? You're in a relationship now.
Right. How about me what?
Well, you're getting on a little bit. So
What do you mean?
Time's
I'm
running
30.
out. Yeah, but you got to start thinking about these things.
What about babies?
Yeah.
I'm kind of like Rich. I don't really like them. They don't really like me. I don't get maternal. I don't get excited about babies. My sister's pregnant. And
You'll be an auntie.
I am. And everyone says it like, ooh. And I'm like, ooh. I just, it doesn't get me, you know?
Does it not?
No.
Is it something that you and your boyfriend have talked about?
No.
Okay.
We've been together for like a few months.
It's good to get people's opinions on
We
that,
both
though.
talked about the fact that we both don't really like kids. That's as far as it's
Right.
gone.
Okay, well, sounds like you're perfect for each other.
Oh, I think we should probably leave it there, shouldn't we? Because you're
She's
currently
listening.
Yeah, she's currently sat here with headphones on, listening to her mum saying that this was never the plan.
To be fair, that was 5 years ago.
Yeah, lots can change in 5 years.
Yes, obviously lots has changed.
Someone wanted a year out of work, so.
Well, yeah, I needed a break.
And we had the girls in there because not only newsreading, but that was also a big sort of part of the show. What was your kind of like favourite moments of things that have happened on air that haven't been so news focused?
Yeah, so the girls of Jack, we did that for years. And it was literally just a bunch of girls from in the office. So it was the newsreaders, it was the sales team, it was anyone we could find jumping in the studio and chatting about all sorts of stuff. And actually, some of the silliest ones that we did were the funniest. And I remember one time just having a round of things you can say at the dinner table and in the bedroom. If you guys fancy playing.
Oh, lovely. No more for me, I'm full.
Breast or leg?
Put the knife away.
What?
Fork?
Pass the sauce?
Oh.
I don't know, that's a bit of a kink, really.
Sorry, I'm vegan. Because also, look, I think you're such a brilliant newsreader. You've got an amazing voice for it. And I do think you are pretty much perfect at it as well. You do sometimes have some issues with some bits, though.
What do you mean?
And the National History Museum's star attraction is being moved from her prime position. Dippy the dinosaur is to be moved out of the main hall in favour of...
It's where my voice quivers. And I'm like...
But what I like about you is you're so solution focused. Dippy the dinosaur. There we go.
The dinosaur.
Fixed it. Absolutely brilliant. Well, look, Joe, I think Jack wouldn't have been the same without you. I know that I've only been here for a few months and I absolutely loved doing the show with you. And it was
thank
great fun.
you.
And I'm glad that we're friends now.
We are.
Yeah. Or colleagues, by the look of your eyes.
Sure.
Former colleague. Well, Joe, look, thank you very much and thanks for being a part of Jack.
Thank you.
Mummy, Daddy, look at me. I went to school and I got a degree. All my friends call it the big D. I went to school and...
Jack FM's Final Fling. Flash Jack.
Hello, it's Sophie Law here, or you might know me as Sophie Bruce. Got a love letter to Jack FM for you. When I joined in 2007, I was 27 and single. When I left, I was married with 2 kids, quite a few stone heavier, and had had some of the most fantastic years of my life with some of the most brilliant people. I have made friends for life. I met a husband there. I met the wonderful Ali Booker there, who I learned so much from about cancer and life and broadcasting. And I may be over the road at BBC Oxford now, but I think a little part of my heart will always reside in that dumpy building on the Woodstock Road. I'll miss you, Jack.
Jack FM, it's Ramesh Ranganathan here. I just wanted to say I hear you're going and I'm absolutely delighted. That's one of the best bits of news I've ever had in my career. Goodbye, good riddance. Matt and Andrea, two people I'll be delighted to not hear of ever again. I wish you well for the future, and by that I mean not. Take care. Bye, Jack FM, forever.
Thanks to Ramesh Ranganathan for that heartfelt message.
And to think we paid him for it. He could have been nicer, but that's kind of his thing, isn't it? That's how he makes the big bucks. This is Jack FM's Final Fling, the final ever show on Jack FM. Dom Joly chats to producer Steve next about his worst interviews, because why talk about the good ones? We do things a little bit differently here.
Hello, this is Marty Miller from Dublin on Jack FM's Final Fling. Here's a question. The original dumpy little building on Woodstock Road. How many windows in the studio did we have to look out onto the world?
Jack FM.
Hit series Jack FM's Final Fling. I asked you a few minutes ago how many windows were in the studio of the original building on Woodstock Road. The answer was 0. That's right, not a 1. You couldn't see jack out of the place. It could have been snowing, it could have been World War III, there could have been some lad spraying graffiti on your car.
Jack FM.
This is Jack FM's Final Fling before it's flung on the radio scrap heap. Jack FM's Final Fling. Flash Jack.
Hello, it's Caroline Verdon here, and I know you asked me for a super cool story. This couldn't be far enough from super cool, but I feel the time has come for me to fess up and tell you the truth about something that really happened 11 years ago. So I was in Afghanistan with Jack FM. I was spending time with the folks from RAF Benson and RAF Bryce Norton and learning about all of the amazing work they were doing in building communities and building schools and educating children and educating women and setting up working environments for the community. And it was incredible. And I know that that should have been my focus. And I know that if you were to write a list of things to be concerned about whilst you are in a war zone, most people wouldn't put spiders at the top. However, I'm really not a fan. Now, part of the training that I had to do before I went to Afghanistan involved things like what to do if you are kidnapped and how to live in a hostage situation. But it also included information on some of the really awful spiders that exist in the middle of the desert. And one of those spiders was a camelback spider, and that was the thing that absolutely freaked me out. It is about the size of your hand. It looks like it's just made out of bone, almost like a skeleton. It is like something from a horror film. And P.S., it can kill and live in your house when you return home. So I am on high alert. So there's one morning and I get up and I go to use the shower and I go to use the toilet. And as I drop my trousers, I turn around and in the toilet bowl, millimetres away from my bare backside, is this gigantic spider. I do what any self-respecting person would do and scream like you wouldn't believe and leg it out of the toilet block with my trousers still round my ankles. Lots of questions are asked and it's decided that it's probably best that I go and use a different toilet block, so I do. And then I continue with my day and I try not to think any more about it. However, when I return, it seems that in my absence, there's been a lot going on. It seems they had not forgotten about the spider because they had diverted military personnel away from their actual jobs to instead crawl hands and knees around a toilet block to try and see if they could find this spider. They had sent in one of those insect bug bombs. They also held a meeting where they called, 50, 100 of us. Loads of us were members of the press, proper members of the press though, not like me. I mean, they were defence reporters for Channel 4 and ITV and The Times and The Telegraph. And they tell people about what I've seen and remind people to be careful when they go home that they don't take one home with them. It is the talk of the press area of the camp. Everyone is talking about this spider that I've seen. Everyone's asking me questions. Anyway, the following morning, I go back to said shower block. I go and use said toilet. I drop my trousers. I glimpse into the toilet bowl, and it is at that point that I think I see it again. I think to myself, it's a bit strange, isn't it, that it's in an identical position, the position it was in yesterday, like it hasn't moved, and yet all these people came in yesterday to try and find it, and they couldn't find it at all. So I had a bit of a closer look. That's because it never was a spider, it was actually just the gnarly old end of a toilet brush. I'm really sorry.
Coming out of my cage and I've been doing just fine. Gotta be down because I want it all. It started out with a kiss.
Hello, this is Dom Joly, and this is Jack FM's Final Fling. I thought I'd had my final fling because I did my last show today, my last Sunday session with Steve, but here I am again at the Final Fling. Hello, Steve.
Hello.
So that wasn't, we just can't keep away from each other.
Yes, but this really is it now.
Oh,
this is the end of Jack FM now, so it's nice to be here at the very end.
Right, so can I literally start stealing furniture now, or do I have to wait after this?
To be fair, there's not a lot left.
Most of it's been stripped away.
There's been
already.
looting and pillaging.
There has been looting and pillaging, but that's just Whitney. So what's happening? What are we doing on the Final Fling? Because this isn't my show, so I feel a bit weird.
Well, this is everybody's show. So everyone who's ever been on Jack FM, even the people who refuse to be on it, are still on it. Because we've got an archive.
Who refused?
Some people politely declined.
Oh.
But anyway.
No Ian Lee then?
Ian still features on the show.
Go on then.
Ian he did politely.
Good. He's moved on.
He politely declined.
Oh well.
But I thought what would be cool would be to talk about some of your best bits. I know we did it on the show earlier.
Yeah.
So in my head, I've got a top 3 favourite interview moments.
Okay.
And let's see if you agree with them. But you've interviewed a whole heap of celebrities.
Yeah.
I'll just quickly go through that list again.
Yeah, go on.
Sean Williamson.
Yeah, Barry from EastEnders.
Yeah. Dave Hill from Slade.
That was great.
Kevin Rowland from Dexys.
Absolutely loved him.
Tim Booth from James.
Total godlike hero.
Deco, you're in the music video of theirs.
Yeah, Deco are great band doing mashups. I love them.
The DMAs from Australia.
Yeah.
Colin from Mole Historical Society. He was fun. He was in a shed.
Yeah, he was a shed on Mole, and I really liked him a lot.
Grasshopper from Mercury Rev.
Well, just Mercury Rev are just one of my favourite all-time bands, so that was a privilege.
You had Betty Boo.
Love
you
Betty
co-hosted
Boo.
a show with her.
Yeah, she's an old friend, and I really love Betty Boo.
Dave Rowntree from Blur.
I mean, that was so exciting. Blurhead.
Baby Bird.
Baby Bird, one of Britain's underrated musical geniuses, Stephen Jones. He's fantastic.
And the Lightning Seeds as well.
I love the Lightning Seeds, and Ian Brody was so lovely and nice to chat to, actually.
You also had Kula Shaker.
Yeah, they came into the studio. Crispin Mills came into the studio himself.
And there were some others. So, this in my head, this is my top 3.
I'm trying to think who you've left out now, yeah.
So, I think at number 3, it's the one that you forgot to hit record on.
Okay.
Which was Steve Mason from Beta Band.
Well, I think possibly the greatest interview I ever did. I'm a massive fan of the Beta Band. And Steve Mason just put out an incredible solo album, and I was smelling awards on this. I got incredible revelations from him, amazing memories, some really quite scandalous stories, and an absolute scoop. And I brought it back, and I hadn't pressed record. Yeah. So, are you going to play that?
Well, I think. Let's play it now. There it was.
See, it was good as I remember.
Superb. And
I know, I'm so awkward, but there you go.
At number 2,
yeah,
and you've got a clip of this in front of you, it was your really well-prepared interview with Captain Sensible.
Oh, do you want me to play this?
Yeah.
Okay, so so Captain Sensible, who, actually, Captain Sensible's Glad It's All Over was the very last track I used on Trigger Happy TV, and I've always been very fond of him. And the Damned had reformed and were touring, and I never really do much research.
You know how to impress your stars.
And anyway, I sort of knew that what they were doing, and I wanted to talk to him about the Damned. And then I thought, actually, I better talk about the tour, and obviously because Jack FM's an Oxford-based thing, I asked him an obvious question, and I think he gave me quite an obvious answer. You don't happen to know, what's your nearest gig to Oxford? Any idea?
Yes, Oxford.
Can we hear that again, because I love it so much? You don't happen to know, what's your nearest gig to Oxford? Any idea?
Yes, Oxford.
And it was that kind of incisive knowledge.
Some people would question why Jack FM isn't carrying on, but some people would just go,
That's why.
And number one for me, it's your chat with Matt Goss.
Well, which? Because we talked about lots of things.
You did talk about lots of things. You talked about, in his previous life...
Yeah, he was a king, obviously.
He was a king in a previous life.
Yeah, obviously. He was very odd. His politics were a bit dodgy as well. But
you talked about conkers as well.
We talked about conkers. I think what we're getting at, though, was it the Beefeaters?
Yes.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, Matt Goss, let's be honest, it's not my usual stuff. And, I like to pride myself on eclectic music, but that's an eclect too much. And really, I only interviewed him. It was my first interview I did for the Sunday session was because I'd seen When the Screaming Stops, this incredible documentary that if you haven't seen, you should see, on Bros. And he's such a peculiar, unself-aware character. One of those people that I think possibly thinks he's smarter than he is. I don't know. But I didn't dislike him. I just find him absolutely fascinating. So before I play this clip of my interview with Matt Goss from Bros, just a little fun thing. If you've got a drink near you of any sort, alcoholic, non-alcoholic, obviously be careful if it's alcoholic, because it's going to get messy. Take a swig every time I say the word Beefeater, and we'll play that after the break.
Want to be the ghost with the most this Halloween? Then pop into Aldi. They're frightfully good, with pumpkins from 59p, Halloween sweets and treats from 59p, and decorations from 99p. All from Aldi. Which cheapest supermarket of the year? No, not that kind of witch. While stocks last.
Meet Jules. Hiya. Yoga teacher. I can move from an eagle to a tree in seconds.
Jack FM, we're playing what we want. Jack FM, we're playing what we want.
Jack FM's Final Fling. 2 hours of raking up stuff about the past that hardly anybody remembers.
It's Jack FM's Final Fling with Dom Joly and me, Steve. And you just promised to play that clip of Matt Goss, Dom.
Shall I play it?
Go on then.
Because it kind of speaks for itself. But if you do have a drink to hand of any form, alcoholic, non-alcoholic, every time I say the word Beefeater, you must take a shot.
Matt, how are you?
How are you, mate?
Last time I saw you was on the documentary When the Screaming Stops, and you were in Vegas, but I gather you're not in Vegas right now. You're back in London, is that right?
Yeah, I've been back for about 10 days.
Right.
It's been a whirlwind, and it's been great. It's not just about Strictly, it's about coming back to my home city and I went to see my mates at the Tower of London. I've got a couple of yeoman friends at the Tower of London, and I went and had a drink with them inside the tower.
Sorry, you've got mates who are Beefeaters?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you get a mate who's a Beefeater? Were they Beefeaters when you left and you met them as Beefeaters, or have they become Beefeaters since?
No, I think there's fewer yeomen than there are men in space, but it's...
That's right, but how do they become mates of yours? I can't imagine, no offence, but I didn't see Beefeaters as being big Matt Goss fans particularly.
Well, that's very limited perspective on your behalf. But
I'm sure it is.
That's, you'd be surprised. I was just saying for the President of the United States and Muhammad Ali, and it's incredible where this voice takes you and my brain takes me. So
absolutely, but I'm going to pursue this. How does your brain take you to be mates with Beefeaters? Were they mates of yours when you were
conversation? You have conversation. Conversation is a universal platform, and it isn't limited to being the singer of Bros, is it? So
no, of course it isn't. But I'm genuinely like, I've grown up all my life around London, but I've never met a Beefeater. How do you meet a Beefeater?
I think that they do come. You'd be surprised that a lot of fellas come to my shows.
Undercover Beefeaters, or they come in the full costume?
Undercover. They come to the shows. They come to Vegas. I've been there 11 years, 4 shows a week. And I think what happens is, hopefully there's an ease that I create around people where, on stage, everyone's equal. It doesn't matter if you're a movie star in the audience or whether
or a Beefeater.
Yeah, he's very much the king of ease, isn't he?
I got a phone call from his promoter.
Oh, yeah.
At the end of that interview.
Oh, yeah, because he'd been politically...
She was furious.
Really?
Yeah, because, there was a bit we never broadcast.
Well, we didn't. I wanted to.
Yeah, we could not afford the legal bill.
And he was about to go on Strictly as well, so I think they were all
They were worried that he would lose his place on Strictly.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, he was, let's just put it this way, he didn't seem very happy. He'd just come back to England from Vegas, and he seemed to think that England had changed quite a lot. Let's put it that way.
So then what happened after you did the interview and after I'd pacified his promoter?
Yeah.
You did a tweet about the interview.
Yeah, I did.
and it ended up being word for word transcripted in the Sun newspaper across 2 pages.
It was pretty good, though. I mean, that was my first show on Jack FM, and we had a 2-page spread in the Sun.
Yeah, for some reason, it didn't happen with Barry from EastEnders.
No, it didn't. But although he's a lovely guy.
He was. He's very good.
But yeah, no, I've genuinely had a blast. I've never done radio before, even though obviously everyone's always insinuated that I had the face for it. And I just had never done it before. And I remember how this all started. It was lockdown and I had COVID and I got a phone call and I barely had the energy to sort of pick up the phone. And it was you. And you introduced yourself and said that you'd just taken over Jack FM and you were going to change it all. And would I like to come in? And I thought, I don't know. And then we met for lunch and we got on. And you basically, the only stipulation for me was that I could, because I've been asked to do radio shows before, but always like with a playlist. And my whole thing is I like, as you can see, and anyone's listened to my show, a very eclectic taste. And I just said, as long as I can play whatever I want. And to be fair to you, you've absolutely allowed me to do that. And I've pushed you to the limit quite a lot, playing Belgian, Flemish music and Italian pop. And
yes, and that's very true. And I'm regretting that now.
Yeah, and apart from songs that are excessively sweary or talk about dangerous topics, which you're not allowed to play, you've been incredibly good. So thank you so much for that. And thank you, honestly, for the opportunity. And thank you, everyone who's listened to Jack FM, who has bothered to listen to my show, because it's taught me a lot. And I think I'm going to carry on in radio, I hope, but somewhere else. And this has really been an incredible foundation stone for me. And I've learned a lot. So I really genuinely appreciate it. And I've just really enjoyed becoming friends with you, Steve, and
thank you.
And all that stuff.
Likewise.
But genuinely, it's been an absolute pleasure. So I wish everyone very well.
Thank you. Well done.
All right. Can I have my money now, please?
Hello, it's Jo Summerbell here, off of the news, been on maternity recently, but I've been at Jack FM for 11 years, and I would say that over the years we have had some of the best journalists and newsreaders working for us. They have covered all sorts of really high profile, important, amazing stories. We've won countless awards over the years in the industry for our journalism and for our newsreading, but look, we're human. Not everything always goes to plan, and sometimes we had the odd boo-boo on air. I thought you might like to have a little listen to some of our cock-ups.
Police have named the Westminster attacker as 52-year-old Khalid Massoud. Detectives also believe he had a number of aliases.
What? Corbyn says he won't resign or allow a coup.
One more time.
Or allow a coup.
Chris Wilder leapt to the defence of his team.
I see my team at the end driving the game forward. I don't see anybody shirking a tackle. I don't see anybody just jogging about, tossing it off.
Candid, wasn't it?
I was waiting for you to come and say something about that.
The ladies 800-metre world champions agreed not to race until the sports governing body has completed gender verification tests. This morning news at 3, I'm Ali All-Woman Booker.
Right now, the choir of Magdalen College, determined not to let the 500-year-old tradition go unmarked, is streaming a performance of its Oh, wow.
Go on,
It's streaming Himus Equar on Facebook. Do you know it?
The police are trying to catch whoever's responsible for repeatedly vandalising public toilets in Woodstock. The conveniences in Browns Lane have been targeted on weekdays since before Christmas. Police say they haven't got anything to go on.
On 106 FM, DAB and online, this is Jack FM News.
And here are your news headlines. Today in the news...
Right, hang on. We have to have a little reset now, because there's some heavy stuff in the news, right? But I'm sat here doubting myself, going, well, news is coming up, and Jo's just sat out there, right? She's on her phone, and he went to tell her. I said, no, please, you mustn't tell her. And her face, she realised, you just burst into wonderful, wonderful laughter, Jo.
You could have just come and given me a nudge.
Could have done, but that was more fun. First of all, is everything okay?
Everything's fine. Let me just get this ready.
Facebook status nice and updated, is it?
I wasn't on Facebook.
Okay.
Twitter.
My friend was telling me about the dream she had, okay? With me in it.
Please put that in the news headlines.
I'm not going to do that.
It's Jack FM's Final Fling. My name's Steve Sims. I'm the programme controller here at Jack FM, and I've had the pleasure of working here a few times over the 16-year history. And one of the things I did, you heard about earlier, I was the producer of Two Strangers and a Wedding, but I also, at around the same time, got to work directly with Paul Darrow, who was the station voice here for most of Jack FM's history until a year and a half ago when Dom Joly took over. Now, Paul sadly passed away in 2019. I had the pleasure of not only meeting him, but taking him to the Sony Awards one year as well, which was the Radio Industry Awards at the time, where Jack FM has won multiple awards over the years. And Paul was absolutely charming company that night. But when we got the sad news of his passing, we put together a montage of some of his best bits and some never-heard-before outtakes. And here it is once again, in loving memory of Paul.
Come along. This is Oxfordshire's Jack FM. If you like it, you should have put a ring on it. Jack FM.
That Jack voiceover bloke, he's a proper nice geezer.
Thank you, dear boy. 106 Jack FM, the station with the voice and the talent. That's me. 106 Jack FM. The radio station that doesn't pay its voiceover guy enough. Oh, well, now you're talking. Jeremy Kyle. Been doing it for 14 years, so he's probably got a few bob tucked away. Mind you, we've been doing this for a few years. We haven't got it tucked away, have we?
Again, you're talking over the voiceover guy there. Will you stop doing that? He gets really annoyed.
Jack FM. Right. Oh, there's more. Oh, no. I usually belch through these. Yes. Sexy version. I don't understand that. Do I say sexy version? Police arrested 2 kids yesterday. One was drinking battery acid and one was eating fireworks. They charged one. I'm sorry, it's making me laugh. And let the other one. I've got to do it again, haven't we? Jack FM, Jack FM, Jack FM, playing what we want. Jack FM, playing. Anyway, enough of me.
We're playing the best of the Jack FM playlist and reliving some of the best bits of the last 16 years in this final show, Jack FM's Final Fling.
And on the way next, Selfie relives his chat with the late and legendary Ali Booker.
If you're a business...
Playing what we want, Jack FM.
Hi, Selfie here. Who would have thought that I would be the last person to close a fader at Jack FM after being here at the launch all those years ago? Yeah, I did have a few years at the structured side, or the BBC as people know it, but I was never caught in my pants. Phew. And Jack FM was always my mistress. I was asked recently about my highlights, and being able to commentate on my team, Oxford United, for 6.5 years, and to commentate on them women at Wembley, and the laughs along the way was magical. Those memories will never ever fade away. But my actual highlight wasn't to do with football. Phil Angel and Ali Booker used to present the Sunday roast on a Sunday morning, and I would contribute either by phone or dropping into the studio. And one day I walked in as Ali was doing a phone call interview with a listener. I can't remember for the life of me what it was about, but during it, Ali said to the listener, and not in a horrible way and not in a condescending way, just honestly said, "I have terminal cancer." Now, I was absolutely stunned that Ali, with a terminal diagnosis, simply said it, like I would say my knees hurt, and she set me wondering. Generally, I interview people in football and sport, and I do it from an inquisitive nature, maybe more so than a journalistic approach. And I asked Ali if I could have a chat. Now, Ali, being Ali, didn't like being interviewed, but she agreed to have a chinwag, and we wandered off to a little storeroom deep in the bowels of the dumpy building. And after some 10 minutes, I turned my recording device off and thanked her for talking to me. I stored it in the fabled P drive, and I don't think anybody actually listened to it. Until, sadly, Ali passed away. Sue Carter then remembered and asked if she could cut bits out for a tribute. I said, yeah, absolutely, no worries. It's there. It's quite long. It's about 10 minutes. So have a good listen. And Sue then said they were going to run it in its entirety because they were all in tears. So here it is. My highlight of being at Jack FM is the wonderful Ali Booker having a chat with me. And it makes me remember what a unique station Jack FM is, and let's hope might be again in the future.
We have lots of headlines in the papers at the moment, and again today, on this very day we're speaking, Wendy Richards has popped up. Now, life is always difficult, but you're always very positive. I moan about an ingrown toenail. Oh, yeah, feeling a bit down. Yeah, how do you do it?
Yeah, ingrowing toenails now, don't get me wrong, really, really painful. I'm with you on that one. Yeah, but then you don't see me at 3 a.m, Selfie, do you? No. When I'm having a crisis of confidence and when I'm just cuddling up to my husband and saying, oh God, what if? Because people don't want to see that. But then I think, I don't know whether it's a woman thing. I can remember coming home with my firstborn child. She'd been born by caesarean section. There was something wrong with her. She had to have brain surgery twice by the time she was 6 months. She's fine now. She'll want me to tell everybody that she's absolutely fine. Nothing wrong with her brain. But you do stand there and you think, what the hell do I do now? And I can remember bursting into tears, holding this baby, thinking, I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. But you just get on with it, because what's the point in sort of mathering around and just trying to make life difficult for yourself? No, get on with it. And you're referring to the fact, of course, I was diagnosed with cancer, had to have both breasts removed, and now the cancer's returned. It's in my lungs, which makes breathing interesting on some days. But I just think it sounds such a cliche, but it could be worse. I could be Jade Goody. I could be 27 with 2 very small children and being given weeks to live. And it's such a cliche. Seize the day, and you just think, I try and have fun each day, try and live my life the way that I would want people to see that I've lived it. Does that make sense? They should say, don't they say the mark of a person is living with, was it when the lights go out, you should be living as though the lights were on? Does that make sense? That does make sense. Yeah, so I don't know, I just, like I said, try to. I mean, I won't lie. There've been times when I've been really low, and my husband's a wine merchant, so you think, well, there's a bottle of liquid anaesthetic for a start. So I may have had the odd one or two too many. There are times when that's happened, but I mean, I'm always in full of admiration for people who have long-term chronic disabilities. I mean, you look at Ivan Cameron. Oh, God, wasn't that heartbreaking, reading that news yesterday? For the first thing you think of is David and Samantha Cameron must be grief-stricken. And his siblings as well, Ivan's siblings, was thinking, where's our brother gone? And you can only imagine how awful that is for them. Well, that's a pain that will never go away. And how do you deal with that pain? A bit of cancer, which, let's face it, isn't causing me pain at the moment. It's not like it's in my bones or anything. Really lucky, slightly breathless because it's causing some fluid on my lungs. I'm talking far too much, aren't I? Sorry. But I was thinking I'm not in pain. It's not really curtailing my life at the moment. I can still work. I can still drive. I have that little bit of freedom. It's not. Someone isn't feeding me my meals and wiping it off the other end. So for that I am eternally grateful. So life could be a lot worse.
A question born from me, because I am ignorant of the fact of the word cancer. It frightens me to death, and therefore my ignorance comes out of not wishing to know how to handle, how to do things. And with it popping more and more into our lives, I give to cancer research every month. I think it's just a terrific thing. Do you find some people are ignorant out of the fact that they don't want to get involved with what is a nasty sounding disease?
Yeah, people still talk about the C word. There's that old joke, isn't there? Oh, how did he die? Oh, it was the big C. Really? He drowned? But cancer used to be pretty much death sentence. These days, cancer is so survivable. Cervical cancer, if they catch it in time, I mean, in fact, if women go for smear tests regularly from when they're sexually active, not from their 30s or whenever, they can actually catch it before it becomes cancer. Prostate cancer, survival rates are getting better. Breast cancer rates, I mean, breast cancer that I've got, something like 7 out of 10 women are still alive 5 years later. I mean, that's unheard of 20, 30, 40 years ago. We are so lucky. What was the question again?
But just that people are scared of the word, so therefore they become ignorant of it.
Yeah, no, you're right. But, I mean, we call it cancer, but it's a bit like calling anything that looks vaguely mushroom-shaped a mushroom. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's a mushroom, but there are 70 or 80 different forms, and I happen to have the form that's called breast cancer. It's in my lungs, but it's still breast cancer. That took a bit of my mind to get round. It's something to do with the genetic structure or something, and they can tell. But they all behave in different ways, and lung cancer is a bit more deadly than, say, breast cancer. But then again, I was talking to a friend at work a couple of years back, and she said my best friend, who must have been in her late 20s, early 30s, has just got breast cancer. And I said, oh, not a problem. You know, here's the websites to look at. This is my experience. Tell us you can phone me anytime. And I caught up with her a couple of years later and just said, oh, how's your friend? She said, oh, she died. And I was literally, dumbstruck, because here's a fit young woman, and she had died of something that I had, and that I've been taking so casually. So really, it depends on the cancer. There are different prognoses for each, but then every person also, their cancer is different. I mean, my breast cancer is very different from somebody else's, but people really shouldn't be as scared of it as they used to be, because in Oxfordshire, we've now got state-of-the-art cancer centre. The survival rates are actually higher in Oxfordshire than the national average.
So, when I come in complaining after I play football that I can't bend my ankles or my knees, could you give me a slap around the back of the head?
No, I refuse to do that, because people, I always catch them saying, oh, do you know, my back's really killing me at the moment, and they look at me and they go, oh, of course there's nothing compared to what you've got, and then I want to slap them, because it's all relative, isn't it? Like I said, mine's not causing me any real grief. It's not really curtailing my life. It's not causing me any pain. I'm a bit breathless, but that's fine. You know, your ankle actually looks far, far worse from where I'm sitting.
I think your panting is just because you're faced by me.
You find that women do that a lot. Yes, the heaving bosom. That's it, yes.
It's normally a deep sigh asking me to leave the room.
Really is the end. Jack FM is about to come to an end and make way for Andy Crane on Greatest Hits Radio.
On behalf of the entire Jack FM team, thank you for lending us your ears and shedding a few tears.
Who do you think should have the last word now, Matt?
Me, absolutely me. Let's
to be honest, come on.
It's me.
You've had your name on all the tags this whole time. Let it be Amanda Badger.
Okay, Amanda Badger can have the last word. We should probably leave it for Ian Lee or something, shouldn't we? He can't help but get the last word in. Let's just end with a touching yet amusing montage.
It's David Cameron.
My daughter is inconsolable. She'd sent a prayer up to God to try and bring Woolworth back.
Jeremy Clarkson.
350 million people on the planet watch Top Gear. What advice have you got for Jack FM?
Jack FM, be controversial. Make cheap sexual metaphors.
Robert and Justine, would you like to remove your mask?
If you like it, you should have put a ring on it.
I suggest you bring Trevor back. Or get somebody else. I've moved to another station. Can't stand it. Guy's an absolute...
Jack FM.
Oh, wow. The boss actually put that in the system and said play it.
After you finally met my husband, Matt.
Yes.
You did give him a very funny, lovely review.
I really enjoyed his company. He was a very nice man. So I thought I'd leave him a little review.
Yeah.
This newcomer to Hanging Out started with plenty of promise and delivered time and time again. Alongside great stories, he asked great questions and seemed engaged throughout. Overall, a great debut showing strong promise. 4 out of 5 stars.
4 out of 5 stars. I didn't tell you this, but Rich has given you a review back.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I've not heard this yet. Go on then.
So Matt, full of energy, very friendly, made efforts to include other people in the group, which I liked. Comedy needs some work, but reckon he should stick at it, you never know. 3.9 stars out of 5.
Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more.
What you say?
Hit the road, Jack. And don't you hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more.
Well,
don't you come back no more.
What you said?
Don't you come back no more.
I didn't understand
Don't you come back no more.
You can't mean that.
And don't you come back
Oh, now.
Well, we seem to be having some difficulty, so here's some music whilst we sort it out. Well, that was quite a racket.
Thank you, dear boy.
That's it.
Selfie, sing into the group.
Go on, put some there. Welcome to the world's worst promotional photograph. Are they in a band? No, they're just on the radio.